Ian is an absolute font of knowledge on running a business, and he loves sharing that with other people and helping other businesses grow. He started his business completely from scratch and now has been running it for 3 years. So there are so many insights he gives.
My favourite bit was going to be becoming a millionaire. That was my favourite part of running a business.
So make sure you get your pen and paper ready and look out for those business lizards highlighting some of his top tips. Hello Ian, thank you so much for joining us as part of Lizards Lair, so we can get some insights into people that actually run their businesses for real. And so you are someone that runs a business for real. So what business do you do?
I run LEEDS Refills, which is a bricks and mortar retail shop which specialises in refill foods, where you take your own containers, and reusable housewares, and stuff like composts, like bamboo toothbrushes and compostable sponges.
And how long have you been doing it for then?
3 years now.
Quite long. So what made you start out? Were you a businessman before you'd started a shop? Have you always run shops?
No, so I kind of went around lots of what would be called entry-level jobs for many years, doing call centres, working in children's museums, working in childcare for a little bit. And there was always that nagging feeling that I wanted to do something off my bucket list. And kind of when I was 15, I'd written down I wanted to run a business. So I kind of went, well, now's a better time than any. I'm now 30. If it's ever going to happen, it has to happen now. And yeah, so I just started looking at setting up a business kind of one night while, how to say that word without...
Well, very happy.
Well, very happy, excited. Yeah.
Very excited and happy to just jump in. One day you literally just jumped into business having known nothing about it.
Absolutely nothing about business.
Did you literally just like go and buy a shop the next day, or was it a long process to actually get it?
It was a long process, but that's because I do suffer from anxiety quite a lot. So every day it'd be wake up, do a little bit of research, have an anxiety attack about how much work there was to do, put it to the back burner. Next day, do a little bit more work, have an anxiety attack about how much there was to do, and then go, yeah, okay, that's too much. Let's put it on the back burner for a bit.
I really like how you described that. Like, actually, just it's a really big task, but if you break it down into small chunks, here you are now running a super successful business.
Nobody has an exact timeline. I mean, I've seen people who've woken up one day and said, let's start a business, and then the next day they've set one up. And that'll be like an Etsy business, hand making cloth wipes or something, and that's easy enough to do. And I've known people they've had their business plan sat on the desk for 15 years before they've actually got around to setting up a shop.
So it's a bit of both. So you do need to do some planning, but you also need to get on and do it as well to get started.
Yeah, but like I said, no, there's no rush. You don't have to go, I've got an idea, let's get it out there within a week.
Okay, so is spending time researching. So what kind of things do you think were the key elements, the most important bits, because you've done that, you did a lot of research, that you found most useful for getting your business up and running?
Yeah, so the main research, especially in my line of business, that needed to be done was, first of all, to make sure there were people who wanted my kind of shop around Leeds. There's no point opening up a refill shop if I did all my research and everybody went, oh, I'm happy shopping at Asda, I'm happy shopping at Tesco's. And okay, well, I won't bother.
Yeah.
So that was definitely priority number one. And then doing research on where people shop, because I used to have a shop in the city centre that used to take loads of money because it's a city centre. But I'm currently on the suburbs at the moment, so it was trying to do a lot of research on finding the correct units, the correct shop to actually take on. Because one thing people don't realise is when you say you're going to set up a shop, and you've got the ideal place in mind, it doesn't matter what your ideal place is if it's not available. I mean, my ideal place was like a 5-story department store of refills, which would have been brilliant, but there wasn't any available in Leeds at the time, so that had to scale back. So yeah, researching what's actually available out there is important as well, especially if you're setting up a bricks and mortar store.
Yeah.
And then just researching costs. You don't want to be setting up a shop willy-nilly. You don't want to wake up one day, sign a lease on a shop that's £10,000 a month, and then realise it's going to cost you another £100,000 to set up when you've only got 20 quid in the bank account.
Yeah.
So you need to research what costs you need and how much you need to raise and how much you need to fund before you can start.
So, so research actually, and it's really good because you do so much research, but actually the way you've spoken about it is breaking it all down and just doing a little bit every day, and then eventually all those little steps will get you there.
Yes.
So your shop sounds really fun. Do you enjoy the shop part, like actually picking all the products and choosing what goes on the shelves?
I do. I'm a big statistician guy, so I absolutely love being able to find out the cost of everything, find out the prices of everything, find out how you use it, items, how long they last. I've got a big spreadsheet with lots of little shaded in cells, which I just type in a number and it all does it for me now, and it's wonderful and spectacular.
Is that your favorite part of the job then? Just keeping an eye on everything and finding out more about your products?
No, so my favorite part of the business is chatting to customers. That's my favorite bit,
Did
especially
you
on the
think that would be at the start? Sorry.
I mean, I hate to admit it, but at the start, my favorite bit was going to be becoming a millionaire. That was my favorite part of running a business. That very, very quickly changed when, again, everybody seems to think starting up a business, you'll make loads of money straight away. And that is so far from the truth. It's unbelievable. It's a slow burner.
So you don't make loads of money, but you do must make some money to keep it going shortly. So do you manage to keep an eye on your accounts in them?
Yeah, so the business itself makes a little bit of money. A couple of £100 here, a couple of £100 there. Not exactly much I can pay myself. So I've barely taken any money over the past year. I mean, it's been a weird year, hasn't it? So we'll see if that improves. But yeah, for myself, it very quickly didn't become about the money. It quickly became more trying to change people's views of the world and how they shopped and how they really saw the plastic pollution and the waste that people were producing. So the fact that I'm not actually making enough money to pay myself is not a major issue, because it's more about the outcomes for other people rather than myself.
And actually making a difference to the world. So that's quite interesting. Yeah. So rather than focusing too much on the money, you're actually focusing more on the difference you're making and the fact there's less plastic. So, and I suppose that's a balance then. I guess you've actually had to come to terms with that. You're not going to make loads of money, but you are going to make a really big impact.
Yeah, because if you go into business and go, I want to make £1 million, and that's your be all and end all, that is your plan A and there's no plan B, you're going to get very disappointed very quickly, and you're going to want to finish that business very quickly, and you'll be like Icarus. You've flown too close to the sun and it's all gone to pot.
Yeah. So are there, so you say flying close to the sun, what challenges do businesses come up with when they're flying low? Where do you see people have pitfalls? Because you actually have got yours up and running, you've got your shop.
So one big pitfall is your costs just flying out the window. So you make a budget. So my budget is to spend £500 on stock every week, but very, very easily that can turn into £700-800. You might see a new product that you like and end up having to buy lots of that in. Prices can change at suppliers with a day's notice. That's one major pitfall, because as soon as you run out of money, you don't have a business. As soon as your bank account hits negative, it doesn't exist. Another pitfall is just customers getting bored of you. If you can't provide a good service or a fun service or new products, customers will get bored. Humans are fickle, and they'll just move on to the next bright, shiny thing. So that a lot of shops I've seen get stuck in their own little cycle of what they provide, and then they slowly disappear.
So is that about looking, like really keeping an eye on your customers throughout? Because you did lots of research before you started, but actually it sounds like you're doing that and keeping.
Yeah, but now it's a simple question. If a customer comes into the shop and I go, what's missing? What do you want that isn't here? Or talking to them about their lifestyles. And if somebody says something interesting, like they travel the world 6 months a year, well, you know that customer's looking for stuff that they can travel with. They want small things. They want eco-friendly stuff that they can take with them. Just little questions like that.
Oh, that's really cool. And so what advice would you give to anyone starting out in business then, as they're coming up with their business ideas and their business plans to pitch?
My first piece of advice is do it. Just say yes to life. That's always a motto of mine. If it's on your bucket list, if it is in your mind to do it, do it. You don't want to get to the age of 50, 60, 70 and be regretting stuff you've missed as a young adult and as a teenager. My second piece of advice would be plan a budget. Even if you don't do any research with customers, plan a budget. You need to know exactly how much you need to spend to set up a shop. So, for example, my shop setup was £11,500 from having the idea to opening. It was 11,500, which if I hadn't have found, I wouldn't have opened. So knowing how much I needed and then raising that money before starting was imperative.
And that's really outlining your costs as well, because like you said, there's lots of other factors that can come into play with your costs that you might not realize, and then all of a sudden that money that you've budgeted for isn't enough. So,
well, for example, I didn't even have a clue that I needed to buy bins. I've always lived my life with your house has a bin, so why wouldn't a shop, the council, just come along and collect your bins? But no, I've got to spend £50 a month buying a bin.
That's a really good example. Yeah, that's a really good example.
Which again, you never thought about.
No, and until you're up and running, you might not know about. So yeah.
Business rates. Business rate. Don't get me started. That's so confusing. But you don't know if you need to pay it or not until you start paying it. It's like, oh, yeah.
So really just thinking lots of things through, and any other words of wisdom for anyone?
Don't worry if you make a mistake. I've made so many mistakes. I could probably, if I totaled up at the cost of my mistakes, I'd be looking at another £7,000-8,000 of mistakes I've made.
Could you tell us one of those mistakes then, and how you've
a nice easy fun one. So we're buying 20 litres of laundry liquid at a time for people to decant, and that's like £50 worth of stock right there. And I was quite tired at the time. Got into the shop, put it up onto the shelf without shutting the valve on the 20 litre tub of laundry liquid, and hadn't realised until there was nothing left in the container. So I just had a floor awash with laundry liquid, which it's not really great to clean the floor with either, because it's not made for cleaning floors.
Especially, and then that's impacting your time as well as then having to buy new cleaners. So
yeah, it was good fun. And it's one of those customers come into the shop and apologise for making mistakes, and I can now honestly say it's not the most costly mistake ever made. I don't care.
You've done worse. You've left more taps on.
You will do worse in your life, so don't worry about it, but learn from your mistakes. I now know not to fill that up in the morning because I'm too tired before I've had my coffee.
So you obviously spend lots of time running a business, and especially it's all encompassing when you're doing all the research and running the shop and after hours work as well, and then stocking it beforehand. What do you do to relax? What do you do when you've got downtime?
So I would say it's very important to get downtime, though. Even if you feel like you've got so much work to do, is find an hour or two every single day where you can just switch off from running your business at the very least. If not, try a whole day. For me personally, I go running quite a lot, do a lot of running. I play ultimate frisbee as well. So we do a lot of that over weekends. And just get reading books as well. Just anything to switch off that you enjoy. I say, don't switch off and start cleaning if you don't enjoy cleaning, because that's not really helping you relax. But yeah, you've got to find something somewhere along the lines that helps you just forget about the business, because you will run yourself into the ground. I mean, I found myself the first few months, I was constantly on the till, because it's like an online till I can do on my phone. I'm constantly checking it, going, how much money did I make? How much money do I need to make? How many customers did I get? How do I get more customers? And basically, I crashed and probably spent 4 days bedridden, because my brain just exploded and couldn't cope anymore. So yeah, it's important to find that switch off.
Yeah, to make sure you can keep going, because otherwise, if you don't give yourself that break and put too much pressure on yourself, then you're not going to be able to. Well, that's really helpful advice as well for all our budding entrepreneurs. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed our interview with Ian and found some really useful business insights. And thank you very much, Ian, for your contributions.
No, thank you very much.
It was brilliant speaking to Ian about running his business, and it was really humbling to know, actually, even he found it very overwhelming, but he just did a little bit every single day to get himself up and running, and now he's running his own business. It just shows you really can do it yourself too. So keep going with all your really good ideas and we can't wait to see them.